Trojan fans, welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, publisher of USCFootball.com, and I'm joined by the coach, Harvey Hyde. You can follow him on his socials at Coach Harvey Hyde or go to his website, harveyhyde.com, for all of his content. We got a fun show for you today, talking about USC's 29-10 victory over crosstown rival UCLA. We'll get into the coach. 9-3 on the regular season. Vegas had USC at 7.5 wins. Is 9-3 enough? We're going to talk to Coach Hyde about that. If you have questions or comments for the show, podcast at uscfootball.com is our email address. It's been our email address since 2008, so keep doing that. We've been doing this since 2008, if you can believe that. 424-254-9141 is the number if you want to leave us a voicemail. We got some voicemails, as we usually do, for the coach. You can go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you're on, one of your iPhone or your Amazon, oh my God, Android device, you're listening to the show that way, you can leave us a 5-star rating and review. We appreciate all that. And we, of course, appreciate the coach who's joining us right now. Coach, how you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I just experienced the greatest weekend in college football, NFL football. Whenever you have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I never left the house. I sent the dog out for the newspaper.
There you go.
I didn't want to miss a thing. It all started with game day. I went right on through it. It was absolutely fantastic. I fought the turkey, because turkey's a sedative. I fought that to stay awake and finish up, Thanksgiving. But what a great weekend. If you don't love this past weekend, it's the greatest college football weekend, along with the CIF playoffs, and everything else that go on, and the champions that are crowned then. Can't be any better, guys. And then for all of you USC fans, and of course, if you were at the Coliseum with all the enthusiasm and 69,000 plus people there, they got it done. 29-10 against a team that came out really ready to go and had watched videos in the past history of the game, but there's so many portal players. I think USC should watch it too, because they've got a lot of players that don't know what the magnitude of this game is. To see them win this football game, play down to their level, I thought, in the first half, and then gear it up a little bit in the second half when they said, oh my, they might be better than we thought they were.
Yeah.
And then pull it out. So, what a way. That's the way I'm going to start today.
I love it. Yeah, it was an amazing Thanksgiving weekend, 3 NFL games on Thursday. We even had, Black Friday, you get some college games or some good stuff. There's a couple Big Ten games. You had the Bears and the Eagles, and we talked to you guys about MyBookie last week, the lock of the season. So if you got to check out that game, as soon as a single touchdown was scored, you would have won with your welcome bonus to MyBookie. But they still have more bonuses going on over there. If you want to go to MyBookie, you can keep using our promo code Peristyle, as in the Peristyle Podcast. And they've been a great partner to us over the years, but go check it out. There's so much NFL stuff going on. Now you got conference championship games if you want to get on the action there. The NFL is really heating up. A lot of people say the NFL doesn't start till after Thanksgiving. And, man, players that you thought were great in the beginning of the season aren't very good now. Guys you thought stunk, they're doing great now. So you can check it all out over at MyBookie. You get the sports book there, but also the casino, and everything is one spot. There's no app, no hoops to jump through. Just hit the site and you're in action. So use that promo code Peristyle, sign up and get that welcome bonus and get started now. So you can load up, lock in, and enjoy the feast over at MyBookie. And we enjoyed some football, like you said, over the weekend, Coach. That was the first half was rough. To hear Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane, you could argue the two best players on USC's roster. And we got word, I don't know, an hour or two before the game that they were going to be suspended. We weren't sure for how long, but they were going to be suspended. It ended up being the first quarter, and a violation of team policy, team rules, some disciplinary action that was not disclosed. But I think that set the USC offense back, Coach. They scored on the opening drive, but after that, even when Lemon and Lane came back in, the offense didn't look. It just looked out of sync. They got to go into the second half. But that first half was rough, and I don't know how much you want to put on the suspension of your two best receivers, but to me it seemed like that played a big role. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, Didn't play a big role. I'm proud of Lincoln
Oh,
Riley.
okay.
I'm proud of him. If nothing else, you motivate your teams, and rules are rules, and everyone has to follow them. Doesn't make any difference who you are. It wasn't a big thing they probably broke. They probably broke room check. They weren't in at the proper time, or they were late to a meeting or missed a meeting. But you've got to let people know that, hey, when we tell you what time the bus is leaving or what time we're having meals or whatever, you're supposed to be there, especially if you're a leader. If you're a captain, if you're a leader, if you're one of our stars, there's no special rules for you. We're all the same rules. You've heard me talk about this all the time because the rest of the players will not respect you as a football coach if you punish the ones that don't play and you let the ones get away with that play. So I think it was great. And I tell you, there wasn't a big letdown. I did a great job. I mean, you wouldn't even tell the difference. You thought, hell, they got a lot of great players here. I mean, they could have won that game without those two. They didn't do that much.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it looked like the offense coach just was not in sync to start the game. They got that first drive. They ran the ball well. King Miller did a great job. Then they kind of got away from the run in the second quarter. And I felt like they were trying to force it to Lemon and Lane a little bit, but they got to go in the second half. I mean, to be 10-7 at halftime, USC fans were not happy. If you read the Peristyle coach, they were not. They're ready to fire everybody. You can't lose to UCLA. And the first half of games, man, like reading our message boards can be a little nutty. Like people are just, they're jumping off buildings and then they realize, oh, okay, USC won by 19. But yeah, that was a weird one.
Well, let me tell you, did you ever think that they were going to lose that football game?
No.
I watched the game. No. People relax. Just relax and let the kids play the game out. And some way it'll all happen where the best team wins unless you help them win. Now, what happened, UCLA assisted USC in their comeback by stupid penalties, drop passes, and so on. So, you know, a team plays up to the really who they are. And what happened, UCLA started to play on who they were.
Yeah.
They started a little cocky and so on. Then look what we're doing. And it was the thing that cost them the game, not that USC didn't take it to them. But I think that what happened, they played a more balanced type of football game, USC in the second half. There's things we can get into that a little bit later on when we get into techniques and play calling and all of that. But right now, it's a big victory. Their 9th win of the season. Obviously, they're not in the playoff. I think they'll get a nice bowl game. And the announcement today, are you going to tell everybody who they'll be playing against next year as far as the head football coach at UCLA?
Oh, you want to go? You want to go there? Yeah, UCLA made the hire, right?
Yeah, they made the hire. Do you want to announce it?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
What do you want me? James Madison's head football coach has been announced as the head football coach at UCLA. So he'll be taking over immediately. Will he coach the team in their bowl game? I have no idea. I don't think any of that's been broken down.
Oh, there's no bowl game. No bowl game for UCLA.
No, that's right. I forgot of him.
Yeah.
No, his bowl game, Jay Madison.
Oh, yeah, for Bob Chesney. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, come on, buddy. Come on. I'm not talking about UCLA's bowl game. I figured that one out a long time ago.
Yeah, I was like,
But, you know, so they got a coach, and they're going to go after the same type of thinking that Indiana did. Indiana's program was at the rock bottom. They brought in a coach from James Madison. He brought half the team with him, players who could play. So that'll take care of a lot of the portal type of situations and people who believe in him. And I'm hoping they got everything straightened out in their front office on the administration on how they're going to handle some of their administrative problems they have and what AD they'll be working for and their deficit and where they're going to play their games and the staff members. And he'll probably bring almost entire staff with him. So he won't have to worry about hiring a lot of coaches.
okay.
Like they did in Indiana. So they'll be ready to go to work. And we'll see what happens with that. So I was wondering when they were going to hire their coach. I guess Penn State now is one of the only big schools left that hasn't hired a coach.
Yeah, there was with the Lane Kiffin domino sort of fell, and then a whole bunch of other dominoes fell after that. In the SEC world, and you had some Group of Five coaches get hired. You had internal defensive coordinators get promoted, like when Lane Kiffin left. The craziness It was weird to see Lane Kiffin craziness, and it didn't involve USC, which was nice for a while. I didn't like it. There was a tarmac involved, Coach. That's got to be unique. Like the tarmac has to be only USC. Now there was Ole Miss fans giving the double bird to Lane Kiffin on the tarmac as he was leaving for LSU. So I don't like that there's extra tarmac stuff going on, but for him to be involved in two tarmacs is just shows you a lot about Lane.
Well, it's an hour. You have one type of tarmac, and the next hour you have another one.
Yeah.
And I think they made a nice hire at Mississippi. Guy's been a great assistant coach for the University of Alabama. Both him and Lane were there, and they know each other, and I think it's a great follow-through. I think it hurts Lane a little bit as far as portal transfers.
Yeah.
Because I think those players will basically stay there unless they're an offensive player that loves Lane, and they'll move on. But I think it was a good hire for Mississippi, and believe me, I think it was a great hire for LSU. And to see people, really, I don't like to see that type of attitude when a coach leaves for a different position. That type of mentality of giving him the bird and so on. What you ought to do is be clapping for what he brought to your university. Look what he brought to your university, and the excitement you've had over the last several years, and the bowl games, and in the playoff, and all of that. Otherwise, all of a sudden it turns, and you're the world's ugliest guy. and all of a sudden down at LSU, now they're all excited about him going there, and I think he'll do a good job there. You see, they gave him and guaranteed him $25 million of NIL money every year.
Yeah, and they're going to give him his bonuses if Ole Miss makes it to the championship game or whatever. I think he would have got $1 million in bonuses, and LSU is going to pay him the bonuses however Ole Miss does, so he doesn't miss out on the bonuses. But that's a wild one.
Well, they're starting to make money like you do, Ryan. They're starting to get up to your class. And I think also in that contract, they said he'll always be guaranteed the highest paid college coach. That's part of it. If anybody tries to hire somebody more, he'll be given more.
Well, it's hard to believe that the tight ends coach from Pete Carroll's staff is now, another, and how many crazy exits he's had from different jobs. Middle of the night with Tennessee, tarmac at USC, Al Davis firing him with a overhead projector. There's so many things that happened with Lane Kiffin, but he brings a lot of it himself. He likes the attention. It didn't have to be this ugly. He could left without being this ugly, but it was ugly.
Oh, it makes front page news. I'll tell you what, that was my story of the week last week. Where will Lane Kiffin end up? I mean, if something gives everybody to talk about, did you hear? What time does he know? Is he leaving or is not leaving? And then, like you said, all the cameras at they brought 2 planes, 1 plane for his staffs. They thought this whole staffs were going to come, but only 4 offensive coordinators got on the other plane.
Yeah.
So they're a little short there, but everybody probably knows this. So let's move on.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be rooting for Ole Miss. People are like, "Hey, go make a run in the playoffs." So even if you didn't care about Ole Miss, a lot of people are rooting for them now. So good luck to the Rebs. Good luck to the Rebels in the college football playoff. Get back to the USC-UCLA game. I know it's kind of something we can overlook, but USC did turn things on in the second half, shutting out the Bruins. I thought Nico Iamaleava, I didn't think he was going to even play, and he looked fine. I think he was tough out there. The defense did a much better job shutting him down in the second half, and then the offense got things rolling a little bit. They did not cover the spread, which was the 21.5, 22.5 range, but they had a couple of missed field goals. If they would hit those, they would have covered it. But it looked more like what a lot of people expected in the second half. It's just that first half was, to be down by 3 at halftime, a lot of fans just were kind of shaking their heads. But got things right. Everything looked pretty much normal, I think, in the second half.
Well, what happened? The defensive line just beat up on the offensive line of UCLA. They couldn't handle them. And what they did, they made an effort saying, hey, we're going to beat you up front. That's what we're going to do, and that's what they did. And they covered up their linebackers, made a lot of linebacker changes because UCLA did what everybody else tried to do early in the first half, is run at them. And when they put the rush on Nico, I'm really disappointed that Jerry Neuheisel, I'm just talking techniques now, didn't make any adjustment to that to play action pass away from the rush. Or Nico's a great athlete. Put him out in the flank, run bootlegs, do misdirection type of things to get him out of the pocket because they were just crushing his pocket and he was throwing quickly and so on. But UCLA didn't adapt, and USC pounded them up front, and that's what made the difference. I thought they just whipped them in the second half up front, and UCLA's offensive line, I don't want to say gave up, but they were bleeding pretty badly. So, and then of course when you have success breeds success, and you start to think, hey, this is a lot of fun beating up on people. So then you get more momentum and guys start flying around more and everything becomes more fun playing defense. But defense is supposed to be fun. You don't have to think much. All you got to do is get after somebody. And when you start getting after people and causing havoc and so on, it becomes fun. And I think that's what happened on the USC's defense against UCLA.
Yeah, it looked like fun out there. If you're watching, we put this on YouTube as well over at Inside Troy on our YouTube channel. And, I think the fans got into it. It seemed like a good crowd. I think there was a lot of positives. A lot of positive, stuff that come out of it. And in hearing from Lincoln Riley, too, talking about the future, talking about wanting to be there, getting up on the ladder, it felt like, sometimes he seems a little distant from like the fans, and it seemed like this was more of he was embracing it more. I don't know if you got that sense too, but I mean, maybe that was probably one of the criticisms of Lincoln Riley, and there was rumors about him and different jobs that were open and stuff like that, but it seemed to put a lot of that to rest with the win on Saturday.
Well, I watched these changes over the last 3 or 4 games of the season with Lincoln Riley, and I knew him. I used to know him, but I don't really know him now. And I saw a personality change during the year. Whether it's him or not, I don't know. But someone told him you got to get with it more. You got to turn your hat around. You got to act like you're more into the game. You got to get excited. You got to do a few Lane Kiffin's hurrahs and up and down the sideline and going up the ladder to lead the band. That's not Lane Kiffin. Somebody's told him or get excited and go up and do, or Lincoln Riley, yeah. But what I call him Lane Kiffin, yeah.
You did.
But that's not, that would be Lane Kiffin doing something like that. But Lincoln Riley, no, that's not him. To me, that's not him. That's not his personality. So he's doing those things, trying to do his part of being more about what he's supposed to be than what he really is. And I think that's what he's working on, and I don't know who's telling him to do these type of things, but he's trying to get it done as far as to being a part of more of maybe the past football program and some of the things that have always been at USC that have been eliminated as far as at USC during the 4 years he's been there. And you know the things I'm talking about, the swim with Mike type of things, the open practices in the spring, some of the things he's been in charge of, some of the things he hasn't been, some of it's the administration and so on. And a lot of times he doesn't know what it really was as far as the rivalry against UCLA, but he's not from this part of the country. It was Oklahoma State for him, or it was Texas for him, and so on. And out here, the SC-UCLA game is something really big, and it means a lot to the people. And, the old jokes that go back and forth, because these kids know each other. They probably try to date the same girls. So, it's important that these teams and kids are victorious in this game. So this year, of course, USC had a tremendous game as far as winning a game whenever you win the game. But I like to see somebody be who they are. And I don't like to see people try to change who they are. And I think that now, I think I know who Lincoln Riley is, and I think you do, but you know him better than I do. You have a relationship with him as far as knowing him. But I don't want him to change. He is who he is, and people have to accept him or not accept him, and get it done. And right now, everybody's hollering and talking about next year. Well, that's not going to help this year. That's not going to help what went on this year, and that's not going to help what's going to go on in the bowl game. And I don't know who they're going to play, maybe BYU. But, you got to worry about what you've done so far, but you can't go back and redo it. And next year, yeah, they have a great recruiting class, but why haven't they had a great recruiting class every year? And my thoughts are someone has woken him up and the staff up to say, local kids are important. Let's get out and recruit the local kids. Let's go visit high schools we didn't visit. Let's make the public more into our program. Let's speak at public events. Let's go by Fraternity Row and have a football pizza feed with the fraternities and feed the band and do these things where people know who you are. I mean, I really think people need to know who you are as a public image of what you represent with the alumni, with the student body, with the players, with the parents, with kids in high school programs that want to come and watch your kids play and practice. So these are the things I think USC is and always has been to the community, and how I have looked at USC when I grew up, that was the place I wanted to go to school. If I ever had a place to go to school, that's where I wanted to go to school. Like if you're in Ohio, where did you want to go to school? Ohio State. And that's what I like to see it be.
I thought you were going to say Toledo. Just kidding. Yes, obviously Ohio State.
We play Toledo, by the way. Don't make fun of that.
No, yeah. What are they, the Rockets or something? It's some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on it. They used to have the Michigan helmet.
Oh yeah. Okay. Did Delaware have that too? Delaware.
Delaware.
The Fighting Blue Hens. Yes. My buddy was a quarterback there a long time ago. Rich Gannon, I think, was the quarterback there. Like he was like Rich Gannon's backup, if I'm not mistaken. Like this was a long time ago. But anyway, yeah, good stuff there. This is the kind of theme. USC gets the win. Yeah, it didn't look great the first half. Take care of business in the second half. Dispatch the Bruins, who, just having an awful season. Had a little blurb in the middle that was something cool. Fire your coach. There was, this was just a game you needed to take care of. USC took care of it. You can kind of move on. 9-3. And like you said, you made a bet with Las Vegas, 7.5 wins over under. Connor and I and a lot of people on our staff felt like 8-4 was like a reasonable, like that was what we expected. And end up exceeding that expectation. I don't know if it exceeded yours, but I think the question you asked me before we went on the air was like, is 9 wins good enough? And so I want to give you the floor and we could talk about that.
Well, first of all, let me tell you this. First of all, I think Coach Lincoln Riley became a better football coach this year than he was last year. So you look at the record and you look at the progress of the program and the coaching staff and so on. And that's what you look at first to see if 9 wins are enough and if they can get 10 wins or 11 wins or 12 wins and so on. And watching him coach this year, I'm not talking about on the sideline or anything, but his play calling, he's starting to bleed more into what I say the running game. They were balanced this past week. He can see that it's not bad to be able to have a great running game. It can really be good for you. Now, has he taken it to the extent of what a running game can do for you in the passing game? Not yet. Not yet. Because he's got a quarterback who can run. When you run the football, play action pass is just absolutely awesome. And I don't think he's established that to a point of where it could really assist him in his offense as far as if he wants to win 10 or 11 or 12 games. Because with play action pass with a running game, with King Miller and backs like this, you have bootlegs, you have play action, you have drags, you have corner routes, and you have options when Marvin can run the ball and not throw it, and they can't come flying up like they come flying up now, but there's no option to him. He's just going to run it and run out of bounds. He's not going to cut up much at all. So you can really develop it more in that way, and I think he's starting to see that more and develop. And I think as he sees that come along, he's going to be able to be in a better position when he has great running backs and his offensive line starts to perform, and he sees his offensive line can perform better when you do have a balanced attack where you can run the football. It builds pride in the unit and the whole thing. I think he needs to put together a short yardage type of offense along with his passing game. I think his passing game is good, except for when I talked about it last week. as far as taking advantage of the secondary that people are playing against you as far as a man defense and crossing zones and, crossing patterns and all that. I'm not going to get into that. And on the defensive side, I think that they're gaining confidence, but I think they've got to be a little bit more sound. They got to get better linebackers. Not that the linebackers, nothing against the kids now. Guys, that if you watch college football and you watch some of these linebackers play, I don't see that same intensity at their program as I see if you want to consider USC and Alabama, you want to consider them Ohio State, you want to consider them a Notre Dame. And I think that's what we all look at USC's football program as. So if that's the type of football program we're looking for it to be and what they should be, then we need to improve in areas that we don't really have maybe the same athlete in that type of position that would play even without a helmet, okay? And you've got to be able to build the weaknesses in certain areas that you can be stronger. On the defensive secondary side, I think you've got to eliminate the pass interferences. Not that other teams don't get them, but you don't need them, especially if you're going to try to play at another level where you can compete with the teams that are winning 10, 11 games a year or even going undefeated at 12-0. So you've got to work in those areas and find ways that you don't have the play that you're at now in areas where maybe you're a B or a C plus, where you need to be a B plus or an A minus to play at that. So 9 games this year. Your losses: Oregon, Notre Dame, both ranked teams, okay? Both ranked teams. And your major loss of the year, Illinois. If you hadn't lost to Illinois, you could have been 10-2, okay? Which is, I think, acceptable. But remember, if you're going to consider USC as a Notre Dame, as a Ohio State, as a Michigan, which they beat, and some of the teams that are on the top 5 or 6 football programs in America, then you got to be good in every area. And I think that's one thing that he learned as far as the running game being better, what he needs to do on the defensive side of the football, at least I'm sure or hope they do. And, of course, making the right decisions on your unsportsmanlike conduct, penalties, and things like that. Otherwise, you're not going to win. If you watch other teams when they get unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, it's a bad deal. Head coaches don't put up with that, and I think that's one thing you can't put up with because that will beat you in a big football game. So that's what I say about this year, and I think it's going to be a better football team. Will he have a better record? We hope so. Will he against a better schedule? We hope so. But all of those things have to be gauged in your offseason on how you put yourself in a position to beat the type of people that'll be on your schedule next year. Remember now, 2 of his wins this year, where they came from, okay? 2 of his wins came from Missouri State and Georgia Southern, okay? So I'm not going to humiliate those programs, but they certainly are the type of programs maybe that in the past the Trojans played.
Georgia Southern's going bowling, but I think it was a disappointing season. They end up firing, I think Clay Helton fired his DC defensive coordinator and some other assistant. So I was like, oh, we've seen that happen before. we've seen Clay have to fire some people before. All right. Well, good stuff. Good assessment there. Yeah, I think the team should be better. The schedule's harder. So will the record be better? That's going to be the question. I think it is. I think there's a lot of pressure on Lincoln Riley to be better next year. So we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, we got some questions, Coach. So why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and jump in with all the questions. All right. Back in a minute, everyone. All righty. Coach sipping on his coffee. We're back here on the Peristyle Podcast. We have a question from our friend John in Brea. I'll read this one to you. We got a bunch of voicemails, too. We'll get to those in a second. John in Brea. He said, Ryan, you touched on something last week in the week of the Notre Dame game. It just doesn't seem like the teams going to these big games, understanding, caring, or behaving Like, it's a big freaking game. I understand not getting too hyped up for it, but I'll take any competitive emotion at this point. Coach, do you think the lack of, quote, big game experience the past several years is really what's hurting the culture of this program? John in Brea.
I don't know. I hope not. Like I said a moment ago, you've got to understand you've got a lot of players that aren't from this area, so a lot of them really don't understand what it means to the people out here at SC and the West Coast. And remember, you're in a market where you're a rock star if you're a football coach at USC. At least in the past, you're a rock star. I mean, look at the programs that are in Southern California and so on. And when you come to Southern California, if you're a football player and you're on a winning football player on a team, you don't pay for a meal, okay? You normally are welcome on campus anywhere. People recognize you, know who you are, because it's important to them. And I think that's something you've got to realize, that you've got to be able to understand where you are and what the program's all about and what you represent. And I think with the portal now, I think that's a little bit different when you bring a lot of players in from a lot of different areas that really don't understand what rivalry games are. Rivalry games mean a lot. Now, they might be playing at SC and UCLA, but their rivalry game was Indiana and Notre Dame or Purdue from where they're from, or Georgia. So you've got to sell this to them, that it's damn important that you're in Los Angeles now. You're not in a market where there's no other competition. You're in a market where you can be a rock star or be somebody that's special, and you don't act like you're not in LA. You dress like you're in LA. You act like you're in LA. And you're going to a university that has a lot of class and costs about $90,000 a year to go to, and you're on full scholarship. So imagine that, what you're receiving as far as not only the experience of playing in a football game, but also what you represent to the university and everything as far as what they mean, what you mean to them. So I think that's what you have to do, and I think you can do it better with a freshman class. When they come in as a freshman class, is what they're going to do. And you sort of ride along with it, and you learn from that. And right now, currently, I don't think it's just USC that's finding out what a rivalry game is. I think there's a lot of universities around the country that are finding that out. They use a lot of portal players to find out what it means,
I hear you, Coach. I think UCLA showed like a movie or something. It's a little different now to get people into it. But I thought they treated the UCLA game that way. I mean, that's one where you can run to these guys in the grocery store. You don't necessarily want to lose to the people across town, and USC didn't, so that was good for them. Let's go. I think this is our buddy Curtis. We have a voicemail from him.
Hey Ryan, this call is for you and the coach. The best teams that we played this year, Notre Dame and Oregon, were able to stop the run, or at least contain the run, and still have two deep safeties. That means your front seven has to be real good, especially the front four, or however you're going to run it. So we need to get better at that position. Now, the freshmen coming in will not really help right away. Some of them might. But we're going to have to take starters from other schools, just like Oregon took our left tackle and they took Bear Alexander. You got to take starters from other people in the transfer portal if you want to really get good production. What do you think, Curtis from Moreno Valley?
Hey, Curtis. It was the left guard, though, Emmanuel Pregnon. He didn't play left tackle. And by the way, Wednesday's signing day, Coach. So the signing period starts, goes over 3 days. USC has the #1 recruiting class in the country for 2026. And Chad Bowden said they're going to major in high school recruiting and minor in the portal. But your thoughts on going out and trying to get some starters like Curtis is suggesting?
Well, you better get great players. You've always heard me say if you don't have great players, you're not going to win. If my X is bigger than your O and I'm a half decent coach, we're going to get it done, okay? And you're talking, Curtis, about I know when they run that two deep safety look. When you normally see that, you're going to run the football. But if you get through the line of scrimmage, you got a straight shot to the goal line. And they weren't able to do that often. And it hurt them. But there's other ways to attack that, as I talked about. If you notice in the UCLA game, they hit the tight end right over the middle. And I always say there was nobody ever open that they throw the ball to, and he was wide open. Why? They threw it in an area where nobody would be covering him, but they don't do that. And when they run that two-man with two safeties deep, which people are running because they don't take advantage of the middle of the field, and you run crossing routes where you have the defensive back, chasing the offensive receiver across the field, and you do many different types of things to hold the safeties in the flat and then run the post down the middle where the guys are wide open. So you have to take advantage of what people give you. They haven't been able to penetrate the front seven as far as how they should be able to. Against that, they have off tackle. I think that's been the best part as far as their running game is off tackle. But in the middle of the line, it hasn't been that successful. It's been clogged up in there. So they've jammed that up. But you got to utilize your tight end and other things to be able to loosen them up, make their linebackers play back where they're more conscious of what they have to cover in the middle of the field, helping with crossing routes, helping with the tight end, so they can't jump in there that tight and always play the run. And as far as when you go out, I would never bring a player in unless he's a superstar and he's going to play immediately, because I've got to have the confidence with my teammates when I bring a player in, say, hey, this guy is really good. Like Diego Pava that went to Vandy, he's changed that entire football program at Vanderbilt. And there isn't anybody arguing that he wasn't good in the portal. Those are the type of guys you want to bring in, difference makers. You don't want to bring in guys that are just wearing a uniform. You want to bring in difference makers, that they're going to make a difference in the game. And everybody says, this guy, I'm glad he's on our team. And I don't think they've done a lot of that in the past. I think they brought in what you call good enough to play a position. And they need to get the dynamic five-star Hellraiser type of defensive lineman. And same with the offensive line, too. You got to have guys that, want to take the hammer out and beat on the nail.
All right, Coach. Thanks for that one. And thanks, Curtis, for the voicemail. I think this one's our buddy Rick in Vista.
Hey, Peristyle's Rick from Vista. I just calling in a great win against UCLA. But, of course, that's a win we should have. Obviously, it was closer than it should have been in the beginning. But that's his team. They seem to be a second-half team. I want to know your thoughts on the assessment of the team. To me, it feels like the offense is going to be there, every year as long as Lincoln's there. Obviously, he's groomed another number one quarterback, one of the best in the land. So whoever comes in after him is going to be the same way. He's got a history of doing that. And at some point, the odds are he keeps doing it. He's going to keep doing it. So you got to expect that. Offensively, you seem to feel that every time they get the ball, they can score or they could score. So I think that's pretty prevalent, and they're one of the higher scoring teams in NCAA football, and I think they're going to continue as long as Lincoln's there. So I don't think the offense is a problem, and I think defensively there are two things that we're missing. One, more experience on the defensive line, which I think we have now, especially going into next year. But we need better linebackers. We need some thumpers. We need better tackling. I think that's the problem, along with we need some corners who can man-to-man cover. Because the way I saw those other teams that were able to beat us is they used a lot of man-to-man coverage on our outside wide receivers. Granted, they still had decent games, but at least they had them. And I think that's what we're missing. If we had those man-to-man receivers, cornerbacks, I think that we'd be able to play up more on the line and be able to stop the run better. So I'd like to know your thoughts, but I don't think I think the defense is the issue. I think D'Anton can only do what his talent allows him to. Anyways, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Bye.
What do you think, Coach?
Well, yeah. I think the bigger defensive backs you can get that can run, the better off you're going to be, because the receivers today, like Lane and these guys, they throw the ball up there. And if you look around the country, the fade routes, they throw the ball high, the receiver goes up, and there's great coverage, but the receiver just takes the ball away from the defensive back. So if I'm out there in the country, I want to find some guys that probably are great receivers that might want to make a pro career as far as the defensive back and make that switch. Because sometimes, as an offensive player in high school, they put the offensive player there on the offensive side of the football, but he's a big play guy. Some guys are going both ways, but you got to have skilled players not only as a receiver position, but also at the quarterback and the defensive side of the football. You got to have some tall guys at safeties that can go to the football and have length, and when the ball's up there, they can go up and catch the same pass that Lane's going to catch, or other big receivers like Cooper's going to catch from Indiana and these guys, and take it away. So the trend, I would say, in recruiting, as a recruiting coordinator and as a head football coach, I want bigger defensive backs, taller defensive backs that can run and tackle and be physical at the same time, and can't be blocked as easily on the running game as some of these corners are now, because the guy is so much bigger than him. He can't see around him. He can't see exactly what's coming towards him, and he can't get him off of him. So I think if I'm that, I'm going to go out and get me some defensive backs that are bigger, sizer, faster, and maybe try to convince some receivers that we're at USC, and if you come and play for us at USC, you'll go in the first round of the draft rather than you might not as a receiver in the draft, because there are so many receivers in the draft that you don't have to go in the first round of the draft. But there aren't that many defensive backs that can cover these guys that are receivers. So you come and play for us, and we'll get you in the NFL as soon as we can.
Yeah, it's a good selling point if you can get it. If you can get that. LSU's had a good run of DBs, corners, and stuff. And, USC needs to get back to that. I'd agree. We had, let's see, I think there was Marcel from the Inland Empire. He says, where's Pat Hayden? Does he regret his actions with Sark and Kiffin? I think there's a lot of regrettable actions from Pat Hayden. I haven't heard from where he is, Coach. I don't know. Is he around or not? Or I haven't seen him anywhere. I saw Max Nikias at the House of Victory tailgate, the former USC president, but I haven't seen Pat Hayden around for a while.
Yeah, it's a lot of guts. Coming around. Really, he made the change with Mike Garrett. He brought in Pat Hayden, and the dumpster pulled in.
Yeah.
And took everybody away. But Pat Hayden, I don't think he's a fan at USC anymore. I don't think he goes to any events. Now, I might be wrong, Pat, if I'm call me up or send me a text telling me that, yes, you did go to an event, but I don't see him anywhere. I know he plays some golf.
Oh.
And he belongs to a country club that he's seen at a lot. And I just don't think he's much into now the USC situation. I don't know what happened there, whatever. But I don't think there's good feelings.
Yeah. No, certainly not. And I don't think he was I think he was terrible as the AD. Someone I was friendly with was there, people from his family I'm friendly with, but I don't think he was put in a great position either, because he didn't have any experience doing that. So why was he hired to be the AD? But he didn't do a good job. Lynn Swann, same case, didn't do a good job. But yeah, you don't see either one of those guys right now. Former players that were like brought in because they were like USC legends on the football field, and after their athletic director tenures, like you never hear from again. Like that just shows you how poorly it went, because it went poorly in both cases. All right, we got one last voicemail for you, Coach. So I forget who sent this, but they sent two other voicemails earlier. One was like 3 minutes long and got cut off, and then they recalled again. I think the general gist is he's not a fan of Lincoln Riley. Does not like Lincoln Riley. I had said something about USC hadn't hired a sitting head coach that had success. Lincoln Riley went to the playoffs, won Heisman's when he was at Oklahoma, since Howard Jones 100 years ago. Like, every coach they've hired, none of them have been like, oh, he was good at this school or he was good at this school. They'd hired people that were assistants and stuff, and some of them worked out, obviously. John Makai and John Robinson and Pete Carroll, like, they didn't need to be sitting college head coaches to be a good college head coach at USC. But I'm just saying USC hadn't done that in 100 years since they hired Riley. And this is a response, I guess, to that. So we'll play it.
Okay, Ryan, I'm jogging. I've got a lot of time. I just finished my run. I just heard you say that you were really you were happy with the initial hire, Lincoln Riley, because he was the only person USC had hired in their storied history, except for Howard Jones, who had what you called a proven record of success. Okay. Now, I don't know if you look at the history, I don't know why a proven record of success is an indicator that you're going to be successful. I mean, how many of these great teams, Chip Kelly didn't have any proven records. Kirby Smart, no proven record of success. Kalen DeBoers, Pete Carroll, John McKay. Signetti had some success at a lower tier team. I think that if you look at it, these guys that like Brian Kelly that get rehired, he's not going to be successful. These retreads that get picked up, whatever they are, I don't think those guys typically go on to be better than they were before. Again, Nick Saban may be an exception because he's a unicorn, but I think you'd have a much better record of success hiring a person who doesn't come in with blue chip, quote, winning record credentials. Again, I pointed out a lot of guys already. I'm sure I can come up with a lot more. Kenny Dillingham, another guy. He was an OC at Oregon. So I'm going to push back on that as being something to feel good about. Grab a Kenny Dillingham, grab somebody like that out of the system. And even the guy at Notre Dame now, he doesn't have any proven record of success. He's been in a championship game. I can't think of his name right now, but he was a defensive coordinator. So Ed Orgeron, no record of success. He was an offensive line coach. Okay. So I just had to make that point, and I've got extra time because I'm just finishing my jog. All right. Have a good day.
All right. That was Bob, by the way. This was his third voicemail. But, Bob, there's different ways to hire coaches. I want to get your thoughts on this too, Coach. But, like, Kalen DeBoer was very successful at Fresno State, and Washington hired him. He was successful at Washington, and Alabama hired him. So that's not a really good example from you. Urban Meyer was, I think, Bowling Green and Utah, Florida. Like, he was very successful. He moved up. Kirk Signetti, very successful at James Madison. So, if you see the trend now, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but people are trying to win press conferences. All the hires that have just happened, you're trying to get the best coach possible, sitting head coach somewhere. We haven't seen a lot of like blue blood to blue blood. It just happened that USC hired Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma and LSU hired Brian Kelly from Notre Dame. Like, that hadn't happened in decades, and it happened like twice in a week. And the trend now, and with these terrible buyouts, like, it's just so hard. I think you would rather try to go the coordinator route or get somebody that's not going to be tied up for 10 years. And LSU's on the hook for a lot for Lane Kiffin right now. If that doesn't work out, you're in a lot of trouble. But I'm just saying USC had never gone down the route. They'd always tried to hire a friend or a crony or whatever. This was the first time they branched out. And UCLA, I think, did the same, something similar when they got Chip Kelly. That didn't work out. It's not always guaranteed to work out, but I thought it was important that USC go out and try to make a hire like that because they had never done it before. If you've kept trying to hire like the hottest name and it doesn't work, hey, maybe promote that coordinator once. Like, do something different, try something else. But it was 100 years since USC did that. So that was my point. And I'm not saying that means Lincoln Riley's going to succeed or not, but you applaud USC at the time for actually stepping up to the plate and calling your shot and saying, hey, we're going to make a big ass splash in this sport. And it was a major splash. Doesn't guarantee to work out, but some of those examples you gave were bad. But there's a lot of different ways you can hire coaches, and the trend right now has been, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but they're hiring like LSU wanted Lane Kiffin, and as soon as Florida couldn't get him, they get their guy. They get Satterfield, and as soon as Auburn thought they were going to get Satterfield, so so this kind of thing happened. But they're all hired outside of Ole Miss, who promoted from within because they had to wait till the very end. They all went and got sitting head coaches, and I think you're going to run out of those. I think you need to take some chances on coordinators, but I'm not faulting USC for making a huge swing that they hadn't done in 100 years. I think it's great that you try something like that. But anyway, that's my thoughts, Coach. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on and on.
No, I like listening to you. I do. No, my feeling is there's so many great coaches that never get a chance, okay?
Yeah.
Great high school coaches, great college coaches, and for some reason they didn't have the right connections or the right referrals or didn't get the due that they deserved. There's a lot of coaches that are great recruiters that you don't really hear about how great they really are. They have one thing missing. Maybe they're a great recruiter, but they can't coach. Maybe they can't coach, but they're a great recruiter. You got to get them in a position, and you got to get somebody who's projected as a winner, a guy that's going to get it done for you. Now, I've seen both, okay? I've seen coaches that are finally getting their chance. It's been a coordinator and every level, from the high school level to the community college level and then to the four-year level, which I had the opportunity of doing, becoming a head coach in all those different levels, which I felt made me a better coach because I experienced all the different levels of coaching. And I made so many different contacts on all those different levels that when I got to the four-year level, I knew exactly what I wanted and what I needed to be successful. So I think sometimes it's good to have the experiences on all levels, which coaches don't have today. Coaches today start as a graduate assistant, or they're the son of some coach, and he gets recommended, and his buddy takes care of him at another school, and all of a sudden they're a video guy, and they're an offensive coordinator from a video guy, and the reason he is, the head coach calls the plays anywhere way, so give him the title of offensive coordinator. There's so many games that are being played, okay?
Yeah.
Today in the coaching staffs, because the parent or the dad wants to get his kid on the staff, he's going to pay him $500,000 a year, okay? And he's not going to make that on the high school level, okay, where possibly should be starting. But I think there have been a lot of great coaches start on all the different levels. Some guys are born with great knowledge of the game. Some guys do not have a personality, but they have great knowledge. And they have to prove it and take advantage of who they are. And what they don't have, they've got to get people around them that do have the things that they don't have. And that way you build a staff to put you in a position where you have a chance to win. Because remember, guys, everybody's trying to win. It's not just you. It's everybody that's trying to win.
Yeah, no, they are, and everyone has guys, everyone has coaches, everyone has off-season workouts, everyone works till you puke. They all, everyone's doing that. So that as hard as you worked in the off-season, someone else worked just as hard. Everyone's trying to win. Even if they have a bad record, they've tried to win all those games, and then that's why upsets happen. You're like, oh, they had 3 or 4 bad weeks in a row, and then boom, all of a sudden they figure it out. UCLA looked like they couldn't do anything. They looked just like a hapless program, and they beat Penn State, and looked good doing it. And you're just like, wow, where did that come from? Now they look terrible again, but still, like you can get these things. Like they work hard too, and things line up, and you get success all of a sudden. So, but yeah, everyone's trying.
Well, now we're at a point now where it's the happiest time of the year and the saddest time of the year, depending what side you're on as far as a football coach, okay? Your whole staff could have been fired, and the head coach says he's not taking you with him. And then the new coach says, I'm not going to need you. So you better look for a job and find out what's going on. And all of a sudden it's the Christmas holidays, and your wife says, what are we going to do? I better not spend any money. And where are the kids going to go to school? And all of the different things. So it's that period of time when it's the happiest time of the year and maybe the stressful time of the year or the worst time of the year, depending on what side of a coaching staff you're on.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Well, good stuff. We got to break down USC UCLA. We don't know the bowl destination. Very likely is the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio, Texas. Coach had mentioned that earlier. If BYU doesn't make the playoff, they could be a potential candidate. I've seen Houston I don't know. I don't know who USC is going to end up playing, but we'll see. But it looks like going to be a trip to San Antonio on December 30th. So that looks like the likely place. So that's the next game for USC. And, of course, Wednesday signing day. We're going to have some live shows between now and then, too. So watch our YouTube channel. Watch USCfootball.com. We'll do a bunch of live shows for signing day and everything going around that, too. But appreciate you coming on again, Coach.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I want to do a little cross promoting on
yes.
Saturday night. Yeah, on Saturday night, if you want to catch me and Chuck Hayes, just go to AM 840. That's a Vegas station.
Sorry,
840. That's a Vegas. That's a Saturday night show. We give everybody the scoop on just games and progress and what we saw for the day. And then, of course, on Sunday mornings, AM 830 KLAA.
Okay.
From 10 to 11. I just wanted to get that in there because we do your podcast, and I put that on one of my stations in Vegas every Tuesday night from 7 to 8. We run this podcast up there because the station carries USC football. So we have a lot of listeners up there. I'm a regular broadcaster on that station that are watching this podcast in Vegas. So we just want to spread the love and let everybody know what's happening.
Yeah, we appreciate the Vegas station, especially they replay our show. We love that. And I love listening to you on all the shows you do, Coach. So, and like if you want to see wherever Coach is, you can go to harveyhyde.com. He's got all his information up there too. But Coach, great stuff. And another season going by.
You get out there and get your Christmas shopping done, okay?
Okay, I'm working on it. It's Cyber Monday today, so.
I mean, let's get those headsets off. Okay. And let's get out there and buy some gifts. Don't be tight on me, okay?
All right. I got something in mind for you, Coach.
Okay, good. And for all of you out there, you don't have to buy a gift for anybody always, but there's somebody out there that will appreciate your call more than a gift. I always try to do that during the holiday period. I call someone who I think is lonely or in a home or someone and say, it's me. I've been thinking about you. I love you. I just wanted to know we all love you and we're thinking about you. There's nothing more valuable than that and make you feel better.
That's such a lovely sentiment, Coach. That's great. Post-Thanksgiving, it's something to do. Give a call, send a text, stop by. That's great. Well, that's a great note to end on for the Coach. Harvey Hyde, I'm Ryan Abraham. Really hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next time.